and the 7 Hermetic Principles. The 7 Hermetic Principles are at the heart of the philosophical system known as Hermeticism, and can be traced back to the least ancient Egypt. The 7 Hermetic Principles are Mentalism, Correspondence, Vibration, Polarity, Rhythm, Cause and Effect, and Gender. Together, these principles provide a full understanding of the dynamics that govern the universe. By working with these principles, one can obtain mastery over their own existence. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandingly possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. The Kybalion. The first principle, Mentalism. The all is mind, the universe in mental. This principle states that everything in the universe consists of thought and is created by thought. In other words, all is mind. Everything that exists, whether in the physical universe or as abstract concepts or pure energy, which you could call the all, is made of spirit, which itself is the product of a universal living mind. This universal mind is in all things, even ourselves, and like the universal mind which creates all that is, we create our lives and our reality by our thought. Realizing that all is mind means we must choose construct the inner workings of our mind with proper reverence of its importance. Like a garden, we must water the thoughts in our mind and pluck out the weeds. We use the power of focused thought and visualization to change our reality and manifest what we desire. By mastering our thoughts, we gain mastery over our experience of life, as the keys to the mental nature of the universe become available to us. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The famous phrase created by Hermes beautifully sums up this principle. There are infinite planes of reality, which are all a reflection of each other, and are all interconnected. What is true on one plane is also true on all planes of existence. For example, the planets orbiting around the Sun bears resemblance to an atom and its surrounding electrons. The swirling Fibonacci patterns seen in global weather trends mirror the growth patterns of small plants, just on a vastly different scale. A true understanding of the axiom of correspondence opens up a far greater understanding of the laws which govern reality. The many planes of existence that are beyond our ability to perceive become understandable to us, as we know that they are a reflection of the planes that we do perceive. What happens on the inside also happens on the outside. What we think and feel manifests in the external circumstances of our lives. By understanding this principle, we begin to realize that making changes in one area of our lives in turn affects all areas of our lives. We are able to gain intuitive signals and insights about external situations from within our mind, because we understand we as individuals are a reflection of the microcosmic universe in which we inhabit. Third principle is the principle of vibration. Nothing resists, everything moves, everything vibrates. All things, whether they are physical or spiritual, hold a certain vibration. From spirit to the grossest level of matter, everything is vibrating at its frequency. Every molecule in the universe is vibrating, as well as our thoughts and emotions. In recent years, this ancient wisdom has been verified by modern science. New scientific tools created in the last couple of years allow us to perceive the vibratory nature of our reality on an atomic level. While modern science has verified this as being true, as a Hermetic principle it has been known for thousands of years. The difference between matter and energy is simply a difference in the rate of vibration. The scale of vibration ranges from the highest vibrations, which are so rapid that it is practically at rest, down to the most gross forms of matter, vibrating at such a low rate so as to also almost be at rest. Between these two poles exists all that is on various vibrations. When we are communicating with others, we perceive whether or not we trust somebody based on their vibe. Different genres of music are considered to have a different vibe. Similarly, our emotions have vibrations. When a happy person makes a sad person feel better, they are uplifting them because they are literally helping the person feel emotions that have higher vibrations. The principle that everything vibrates is true for all aspects of life. By being aware of vibration, we can consciously alter our own vibration through our thoughts or choices of food, as well as the colors and sounds we have in our environment. Fourth principle is the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has its opposite. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. This principle states that all that exists also has its opposite and cannot exist without it, but that the opposite is in fact the same. Everything is dual and everything has two poles. For example, in the polarity of hot and cold, one is merely the absence of the other, but in fact they are both temperature. They are the two poles of what we call heat. This principle contains the axiom all truths are but half-truths and all truths are half-false. Take the polarity of light and dark. As you move across from one side to the other, when does dark become light? The transition point is unclear because they are the same thing, and extreme light prevents us from seeing just as much as extreme dark does. To understand the principle of polarity makes us less rigid and dogmatic in our thinking. Rather than jumping to conclusions, we maintain a state of open-minded appreciation. The practitioner of Hermetism understands that polar opposites can be transmuted into one and other in a form of mental alchemy and awareness that greatly amplifies one's ability to manifest in their lives. The fifth principle is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows in and out, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. The principle of rhythm states that everything has a to and fro motion, or a swinging backward and forward motion, like a pendulum. This unending movement exists between opposing poles within a polarity. There is an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. We breathe in and out. The gravitational pull of the moon creates perpetual tides in the bodies of water on our planet and in our own bodies. We see it in the rising and setting of the sun and in our own daily routines of waking up before eventually going back to sleep. It exists in the rise and fall of civilizations. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. The Hermeticist who gain mastery of this principle ceases to be the victim of rhythm, working with it instead of against it. He knows when to rest and when to ride the rhythmic swing to the other side of the pendulum. By understanding rhythm, we can flow with the universe, knowing when to exert force and when to rest or simply allow things to unfold on their own. Sixth principle, the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. The principle states that everything happens for a reason, and everything in the universe is governed by laws. There is no such thing as chance. The higher planes dominate the lower planes, which can cause the things that occur in our lives to seem a mystery to us at times, because we are limited by our human perception and cannot see the full picture of all that is at play. While most people go through life as a victim of their own thoughts and feelings and the circumstances that are created, the Hermetists strive to become the cause rather than the effect of his own life. Most people are like pawns on the chessboard, obedient to external causes coming from people and forces more powerful than themselves. Part of the way of the Hermetists is to rise the higher planes in their consciousness and become cause on that higher plane, affecting the lower planes with their influence. They master their own internal experience first, and then the external environment around them. The true adept knows to not try to reject causation of the higher planes, but to work with, and while also exerting their own influence. By becoming the cause of our life, we also, by becoming aware of the influence that are causing the effects we are experiencing, we become sovereign. We become the designers of our own reality, creating our life of choice rather than accepting that what happened to us without question. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything and manifests on all planes. Everything has a masculine or feminine qualities. Gender is manifested in everything. All planes of existence express this principle. There is no creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, which does not contain gender. But everything male also contains the female, and everything female contains the male. Humans are born as either male or female, and at all times are either expressing masculine or feminine traits. Masculine and feminine is embedded in our language, with many languages assigning a gender to all nouns. The gender polarity exists on the macro level as well, with the sun representing the masculine energy and the moon feminine. The masculine is the creative force, while the feminine is soft and reflective. While opposites, they are inseparable, part of a larger picture that, when balanced, part in unison to enhance one and other. Awareness of how the principle of gender is at play in the universe opens one's eyes to the beautiful interplay between the masculine and feminine. It allows us to achieve balance both in ourselves as well as in our relationship with others. The 7 principles were taught by Hermes Trismegistus. These 7 principles come from the system of philosophy known as Hermetism, which also contains many other branches of knowledge. It also encompasses alchemy and other forms of high magic. The system of philosophy is attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, who is seen as a sort of king, philosopher, and priest. The name Trismegistus means thrice greatest Hermes and was the name given to thought during the Hellenistic age. It is a syncretic combination of the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes. Out of recognition that Thoth and Hermes are in fact the same immortal being, Hermes Trismegistus was credited with both the achievements of Thoth during ancient Egypt and also Hermes during ancient Greece. Thoth was considered the inventor of writing, while Hermes, portrayed holding his caduceus staff, was the messenger of the gods. The Hermetic philosophy is not a religious organization in the sense of Christianity, but rather a collection of ideas that were embraced by various groups over a long period of time. Its presence can be found in ancient Egypt as well as Alexandrian Judaism, Sumerian religion, Zoroastrianism, Platonism, Stoicism, and Pythagoreanism. A core concept in Hermeticism is Psychotheologia, which claims to be the true core doctrine at the root of all religions. According to historians, Hermes Trismegistus wrote 42 books, although legend about that, in fact, he actually wrote thousands of books. The 42 were kept in the Great Library of Alexandria, which was eventually destroyed. What remained moved to the Islamic world 400 to 600 AD before eventually re-emerging in Europe during the Renaissance. During the medieval Europe, Hermeticism was banned by the church and the philosophy was forced underground. It was kept alive by secret societies such as Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Of the 42 books, 10 deal with sacrifices, 10 with sacred rites, and 2 were hymns of the gods, as well as rules for how kings should govern. 4 books were about astrology and 6 about medicine. Today only a small handful remain, although their authenticity is sometimes called into question by skeptics. These have been compiled into the Corpus Hermeticum. The Kybalion, a study of Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece, is a book originally published in 1908 and has been responsible for the popularization of the 7 Hermetic principles in modern time. The author of the book is 3 initiates, though many believe that the book was written by a man named William Atkinson, an influential, prolific writer in the 18th and 19th centuries. The book does an excellent job of describing the Hermetic principle in great detail. Hermeticism influence can be found worldwide in modern science as well as Christian and Muslim philosophy. The tradition of Hermeticism spanned millennium and reached Europe, the Middle East, India, and China. The ancient Greek philosophers were heavily influenced by Hermeticism, who in turn influenced the Renaissance and eventually the scientific revolution. Millennia after the origins of Hermeticism, legendary though leaders continue to seek wisdom in the teaching of Hermes Trismegistus. Copernicus, the Renaissance astronomer, who proposed the sun is the center of the solar system rather than the planet Earth. And Isaac Newton, perhaps the most influential physicist of all time, are but 2 of many such students of philosophy. Alchemy is a branch of Hermeticism which was the precursor to modern chemistry. The astrological concept introduced in Hermeticism paved the way for modern astronomy, instilling an appreciation and keen eye turned toward the sky. Many concepts in modern philosophy and psychology can also be traced back to Hermeticism.